recapping the Mountain West in Week 6. Hey, welcome back to the Big Mountain. I am JY here to give you a recap of the Mountain West in Week 6. Let's start with the game that Steve and I both were able to attend. Air Force at Navy. Navy comes away the victor here, 34-31. What a fantastic experience that we had. Saw all the pageantry that goes along with it, saw several records that were broken there for Navy, and just a wonderful game overall. Of course, Steve, being a retired Navy chief, he was rooting for Navy. I, of course, was rooting for Air Force. We kept it together. We didn't get into fisticuffs, but we really enjoyed our time there, and were able to attend both post-game press conferences. I, of course, went to Air Force. Steve, of course, went to Navy. You can check out both of those videos on our channel right now. A lot of good stuff. Steve has some great one-on-ones with a few of the Navy players, including quarterback Horvath. During the live pregame show, I mentioned that I was really interested to see what was going to happen here with the Air Force offense and the Navy defense. Something was going to have to break, and which way was it going to go? Fortunately for the Falcons, it broke their way. They were able to score 31 points on the midshipmen. Very good offensive outing. Unfortunately, their inability to protect on pass defense and in that secondary again was the downfall, as Blake Horvath, the quarterback for Navy, had a record-setting day. Horvath here finished 20 of 26 passing for a career-high 339 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, also had 130 yards on the ground with another rushing touchdown. Eli Heidenreich set a Navy record with 243 yards in the air on 8 receptions. He had 3 touchdowns. That brings him to 14 touchdowns on his career, which is also a Navy record. Zarka, quarterback for Air Force, had another great day. Really has looked phenomenal since he's been given that starting gig. He finishes 11 of 19, 212, and 2 touchdowns. He had 25 carries for 152 yards and another 2 touchdowns on the ground. Heard his name a lot in this game. Also, his favorite target here, tight end Fleischman, who had 6 receptions, 166 yards, and a touchdown. Absolutely was his favorite target here. And didn't hear too much from Cade Harris in this game. He did play, but Fleischman was his go-to. And the Falcons, again, just struggle in the secondary on coverage. It was evident throughout the game. Receivers running fairly wide open made it a little bit easy for Horvath to drop in those bombs that went pretty long here in this game. And again, going to be a struggle, I think, for the Falcons all season. Again, here, Falcons kicker Medina, he missed a 35-yard field goal, fairly easy field goal try early on in the game. And as we know, it came down to a 3-point differential there at the end. So that was very costly for the Falcons. Air Force now drops to 1-4 on the season. They travel to UNLV this Saturday, one of the top offensive teams in the Mountain West. Let's now move to what I would call the game of the week, that being Friday night's game, New Mexico traveling to San Jose State. Keys to the game here for me were the Spartans' run offense and run defense, and they passed the test for me. Both sides of the ball, they come away with a hard-fought 35-28 victory. Of course, their out-of-conference schedule didn't go as they had hoped it would. Really could easily be a 3-1 team right now, but came into this game 1-3. And really, unsurprisingly here in this game, a lot of offense. We had over 900 yards of total offense, 53 first downs combined, and it is official. The Spartans' pass game is running on all cylinders. This spread and shred is looking phenomenal. Yet again, Walker Egan finishes 26 of 30 for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, also had 4 carries for 17 yards. The receivers with touchdowns, Scudero, who's looking phenomenal, Smith, and Coleman. Smith coming on here as well. He's got that length, 6'5" or 6'6", something like that. He's a really good receiver that transferred in. The Spartans also had a significant change here at running back We knew Bates was going to be out with an injury, but Chalk the fourth here, he appears to be done for the season. It's not injury related. He did not dress in this game, and I'm hearing he won't be dressing for the rest of the season here with the Spartans. So up next was sophomore Lamar Radcliffe, freshman Steve Chavez Soto, and they both look great. They combined for 29 carries and 135 yards. Chavez Soto here, he got two of the rushing touchdowns for the Spartans, and really the turning point of the game was in the third quarter. The Lobos only ran 11 plays for 54 yards and 0 points, while the Spartans came out, ran 16 plays for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's what really broke things open. The Lobos, never gave up. They get some points in the fourth quarter, but a little too late for them as they fall here to the Spartans. The Lobos running backs really held in check for most of the game. That was another, key to the game for me. As a team, they finished with 76 yards on 27 carries. They were able to punch in 3 rushing touchdowns, one from Humphrey, one from Bankston, one from Lane, but just didn't able to have a ton of success on the ground against a Spartan D that can be a little leaky when it comes to rush games of opposing teams. Keegan Johnson was the leading receiver here, 11 receptions, 145 yards. Lane finished 28 of 40 for 344, which is great, except he had 3 interceptions. So the defense of the Spartans playing a very strong game. They had 4 sacks and 3 picks to help propel them to victory. The Lobos now travel to Boise State on Saturday, and the Spartans travel to Wyoming. Let's talk about Wyoming. UNLV travels north. We have snow in Laradice, a mixture of snow and sleet and hail and all kinds of weird stuff. Stayed on the field the entire game there. And the story of this game, 2 block punts for UNLV that are both returned for touchdowns. It's rare to have one of these in a game, let alone to have 2 of these in a game, and really absolutely the turning point. Remember, UNLV had very solid special teams with Ricky White blocking punts last year. Looks like that might be continuing into this year with Bradley and the others. Outside of those 2 special teams touchdowns, which absolutely were the game changers in this. But when you look at everything else, the Pokes matched the Rebels fairly well. They actually finished with 356 yards, which is more than the Rebels at only 256 yards. Calandria, I think the best player in the Mountain West so far, was mostly held in check. He finishes 11 of 20 for 102 and a touchdown. You can't ask much more of your defense to hold him in check like that in a game. Jaden Thomas, he got 96 yards on 16 carries. So the Poke defense did what they had to do in this game. The offense here, QB Anderson for the Pokes threw 46 times while they only ran the ball 26 times. That is not a stat you will hear from a Wyoming offense very often. Anderson finished 254 yards and a touchdown, but he did have a very, very costly interception, really poorly thrown ball in the red zone in the third quarter, and that came after a Sam Scott receiving touchdown was taken off the board on a questionable offensive pass interference call against Evans Svoboda. So that was a huge turning point as well. That would have made the score 17-24, but they take that touchdown off, and then Evan throws a really bad throw, interception that can't happen there in the red zone. But again, the Wyoming defense looked really good. They had 2 sacks, 7 passes defended. I was also happy to see Sam Scott utilized a lot more in this game, 11 carries, 2 receptions, about 90 yards, 95 yards total. He has to be used moving forward. So the Rebels here, they continue to find ways to win games. They're sitting at a perfect 5-0 on the season, and they host Air Force next week. Probably going to be a pretty high-scoring game. Wyoming hosting the Spartans of San Jose State. The last 3 games here I'm going to talk about, won't provide as much detail, but let's talk about the other Friday night game here first. The Aztecs win over the Rams, 45-24, as anticipated. Really wasn't much of a surprise here to have the Aztecs roll pretty strongly in this game. They're up 28-10 at the half. 38-10 after the third quarter. The Rams in complete disarray right now. They did have that quarterback change, but it's just not working for them on both sides of the ball. Just not working for them. Quarterback here for the Aztecs, Denegal, finishes 13 of 16 for 256 and 2 touchdowns. The rushing game produced 47 carries for 282 yards and 4 touchdowns. Sutton had 2 of them. Cardwell and Washington's had the other ones. The Rams quarterback here, Brousseau, finished 13 of 25 for 155. Did have a pass touchdown and a rush touchdown. Just not enough offense here for the Rams. And the defense just getting gashed in the run game in this one. The freshman quarterback, Darius Curry, did come on here at the end of the game in kind of, garbage time. He went 5 for 5, 451 yards, and had a touchdown. So good for him. But again, that was fairly garbage time for the Rams there late. Boise State travels to South Bend. They fall to the Irish 28-7. They kept things close there in the first half. Things looked fairly good. That's the best, I think probably the best half that they could ask for, a half that they kind of wanted. Only down 14-7 there at halftime in South Bend. Nothing really to be upset about with that. But the Broncos do not score a point in the second half. So pretty disappointing there. And Maddox Madsen, he throws 4 interceptions on 37 attempts. The O-line struggled to provide him with some adequate protection. And, Madsen just didn't have a good game. Facts of the matter, didn't have a good game. He did have the lone touchdown, a 1-yard run. But the Irish win the turnover battle here 4-0. And the Broncos now fall to 3-2 on the season. And things really don't get much easier for the Broncos in the next few weeks. They have the upstart Lobos next week, and then after that, the big matchup versus UNLV. So we'll see how they handle this 3-2 start. Now, let's get to the last game. Nevada at Fresno, the last game on the docket here, the late night game, if you want to call it that. Final game of the weekend. A game that I thought the Bulldogs were going to just, kind of breeze through, have a fairly easy win. It didn't end up that way. It looked that way in the first half, running the game well, and they were up nicely at halftime, but it didn't happen that way in the second half. And the Wolfpack here, their inability to throw the ball really is what's costing them games. It's already lost games for them, really probably lost them this game, in a game that they were in here in the second half. Jones threw an interception. Purdy threw 2 interceptions, actually threw 2 completions to the other team, didn't have a completion to his own team in this one, and I'm blown away by the passing game, inability to have a passing game for the Wolfpack here. It's really what's their Achilles heel for the season. The Bulldogs turned the ball over 4 times. They win the turnover battle 4 times, but they really just can't score any points in the second half. They have 5 offensive drives in the second half. The first 4 were all 3 and outs, and they had combined yardage of negative 14 yards, taking only 6 minutes. So they really couldn't do anything in the second half until their final possession. They're able to run the ball. They're able to run out the clock to win the game, 20-17. They had 15 plays, 68-yard drive, taking almost 9 minutes off the clock. But yikes, Coach Entz cannot be happy with the second half of the Bulldogs here, being at home against a team they should have beaten pretty handily, and they eke out a win. I still have some concerns about E.J. Warner. He did have another interception in this game. I'm worried about what he's going to be able to do or maybe not do against some of the stronger defensive in the Mountain West. But they don't have to worry about that for next week. They have CSU for next week. So again, keeping on track, I think, for the Bulldogs here, at least for another week. But their last 5 games, they've got San Diego State, Boise State, Utah State, San Jose State, and Wyoming. All difficult games here for Fresno State. That's going to tell you how good this team actually is. And the Wolfpack now 1-4. They travel to San Diego State. Still wonder if this team is going to get another win on the season. We'll see. They're going to need an effort like this and hopefully not throw as many interceptions if they're going to try to get some wins here in conference. So, hey, there we are with Week 6 in the Mountain West. Of course, we pick every game on Wednesday nights. We have our live shows. Would love to have you join us. I'll do another recap of Week 7. I'm also going to be doing a full Mountain West summary of the first half of the season. That'll drop later in this week, showing which teams maybe are outperforming my expectations, not performing at my expectations, and kind of where I thought they were going to be. So I'll go through every team here on that summary as we are about halfway through the college football season. With that, hey, I thank you guys for watching. Smash that like button, subscribe if you like our content. We'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.